Hey, it's Larry. Welcome to Stewarding the Wealth Transfer. Today, I want to talk about timing and the timeline of the wealth transfer. It's been a few weeks, and you might go, "Oh, Larry, just avoid dates." Well, I'm not afraid to talk about the logic or ideas. Am I prophesying this? No, but I've had prophetic events, four of them that I think are super related to times as we come in. But Kim Clement describes times and dates that we're rapidly approaching. He talks about Thanksgiving. And the way he describes Thanksgiving, and he doesn't make it clear which one, but it's the one that is during the time of the miracles of the wealth transfer. It's when he begins to reference the big E. It's when he begins to talk about prosperity for his people, and he talks about blessings coming to his people. So I think that's the Thanksgiving we've got coming up. It looks to me like when you read that prophecy, there's many prophecies about Thanksgiving, and then Christmas. Both of them, there's a very special Thanksgiving that's coming to America. And then there's an even more special Christmas, because it's going to signify the outpouring of his Spirit and the change of his church in a way that we've not seen. And so what are you saying with that, Larry? I'm saying that all the things that Kim has said are coming to a crescendo even now. And I want to encourage you that I'm encouraged more than ever that the items of the 8 wells that Kim prophesied, I can see are just bubbling, and they're coming to the surface. And, silver and gold are both doing extremely well. Gold is at all-time highs. It hasn't broke a new record in October yet, but I think it was 8 times in August, 8 days in August. There was new records. I think it was 9 times in September. And so we're seeing those things. XRP has made more progress. I believe that's one of the 8 wells, and I'm really excited about that. That's not one that I'm majorly invested in, but I'm trying to figure out how to get more in, because I think it's going to drop, and I want to maximize my future investment. I do have a good chunk of it sitting off ledger, on a cold wallet, but I want to talk about what's got to happen and what I think. And I'm going to reference some of the previous videos. You might remember it was called the Dinar Dream. The day I interviewed Heather probably 3 months ago, and she's from North Carolina. She helped explain how the dinar in her dreams came first, and I think that's true. And I think there's a couple of prophecies my brother often calls and says, "Larry, there's a lot of chatter on the Patriot channels about the dinar. When do you think it's going to happen?" And the two main prophetic words that are very clear that Kim talked about is he talked about the Dow is going to go rapidly to 20,000. And, he made that prophecy a number of times actually in 2011. And most people thought it was going to happen in 2017 when Donald Trump had just become president, and the Dow soared past 20,000 because it was 17 when he was elected. Went right past 20,000. Now it's like 41, 42. I think it's going to come crashing down. It's going to come very quickly to 20,000. But the second thing, it was impossible to happen earlier in the year because, well, it was until a year ago, because Israel needs to be at war for the second part of that to happen. And I saw today in the news that one of the head officials for the nation of Israel said, we believe that we are going to return to our Old Testament borders, and we're going to expand Israel to Gaza. What Kim Clement said, he didn't talk exactly about that in this prophecy, but he goes, there's going to be a great surrender. And the Israelis have been so effective in their warfare. They blew up those pagers, and the next day the people had gone to radios and walkie-talkies, and so they were blowing those up. And and they had snuck bombs in secret areas. It'd be like the equivalent of an ex-president coming and sleeping in a wing of the White House, and then there was a bomb in that bedroom and it blew up that bedroom. That's the kind of things that Israel has been doing. And basically they have the nations of the leaders of the Arab nations are very nervous because Israel is so much stronger, and they really have. Now, that's not what American media is saying, but I watch alternative media. It's Israeli based. You might say it's propaganda. I think I have a reasonable perspective, and I think because of what Kim Clement said, there's going to be a great surrender. The Arabs are going to say, will you stop? And I see Iran is going to have regime change, and so is Syria. Kim Clement prophesies that very clearly. So I'm going to give you a couple stories and try to tie what I think could be. Now, am I saying that I know that this is the way it's going to be? No, I don't know this, but I'm going to give you two things that happened to me that were very impactful. I've talked about them in my videos. I think I understand. I have a plausible idea, and it's crazy, but I think that this is what I think is going to happen. I had a dream. I was actually sitting in this chair because I had done just like I did this morning. I actually got up, went to bed, got up, came out to pray, and that morning I fell asleep, and I woke up to this. I had this dream, a prophetic dream, and in the dream, I believe I was at an older cement open football stadium that's high quality. It was absolutely full. Most people were rooting for Team Trump, but it was the Biden regime, which you could call it Biden Harris, but I didn't know about Harris then. But it was basically the blue against the red, and Trump was leading the red team, and the Biden team got off to a really huge lead, and there was all kinds of dirty plays, and it was just horrendous. But then at a certain point, the tide kind of changed, and the score was still way high on the Biden side, but the world was watching. They were watching on the news, and they were very interested in this game, and they weren't playing football. It was like we were all gathered. We were in the stadium. We were watching a political event. I believe it was honestly the election. And as the different teams were maneuvering around, the Trump team was coming up, and they were still way behind on the scoreboard, but they were rapidly making progress. And all of a sudden, Team Trump called a play that was executed, and it was so devastating to Team Biden and the blue team that the referees, they called the game. It wasn't even the end of the game. It was getting close to the end of the game. Most of the game had been played, but all of a sudden it was just over. I mean, the referees just flagged it down, and the whole thing, and the whole stadium exploded. Almost everybody was just roaring and yelling. And the reason I remember that dream so clearly is because I was sitting right here sleeping, and all of a sudden I just, when Team Trump was declared the winner, even though the game wasn't over, I just threw my hands up in the air. I go, yeah! And my wife was still sleeping, and I remember how goofy I felt. I thought, man, I must have scared her. I was just yelling so loud. But I was so excited. And so, but another dream that I had, this was actually a vision. And, I'm not just sitting here trying to tell you. What I'm trying to tell you is it's very difficult to understand somebody else's prophetic experiences, even when you know they're from God. And it's hard to understand your own. But I think I know what that is now. A lot of times you have a prophetic experience, you don't know what it is initially, but you figure it out. I also had a dream. This is right before, this is honestly 8 years ago, because it was right before the election. It was in October. We were headed to a Sean Foyt concert on the mall. You might remember that. Some of you might have been there. And I had a vision of President Trump winning the election, or winning the vote. He won the vote. I'm not. It didn't say that he won the presidency. I knew he won the vote. But then it transitioned into urban warfare, and I saw these soldiers. They were they had uniforms to a degree. They had dark clothes, and they were it was pretty simple and pretty short. I saw them in parks across the country. It was a ubiquitous situation. I felt like it was even hundreds of locations across the country. These people rose up and were raising hell basically in America, and they were killed. I mean, they were shot, and it was urban warfare. And I mean, I was awake. I saw that. That's one of the reasons I've always believed that Trump won, and I was an early studier of the elections and election integrity, because I had this dream, and it showed certain states like Wisconsin and Michigan. He won. He won very clearly. Even Colorado, he won, and those states were specifically showed to me in that dream. But on paper, the way that we were told, he didn't. But I know he did. And so, Larry, what do you think that means? Well, I don't know if you know, and I'm not prophesying this, I'm just trying to put a rational thing. There's a guy I like to watch, he's called the Unknown Prophet. And he's a YouTube guy, older gentleman, has nice short words. And he talked about how before the election, Donald Trump is going to be declared the winner, just like my dream. I think it's probably going to be the Brunson decision. If you don't know about Lloyd Brunson and his brothers, but I think in the next 2 weeks that could happen. I think that could be what some might call the Trump card. And I'm not saying that Trump has control over the Supreme Court, but I think that Trump is our commander in charge, and he's working with the military. And I believe the Supreme Court is underneath the military, according to the Constitution, in the situation that we're currently in. And I don't think we're going to get to election day. And you might go, well, that's crazy, Larry. You're saying we're not having elections? I don't think we're going to have a national election. And, there's different people that have different speculations. But I'm going to tell you another Kim Clement prophecy. I've mentioned it many times. He's very clear that people are going to be so concerned about the turmoil, the pandemonium, the crazy things that are going on as October concludes, that people are going to be shocked that the pandemonium just stops in America. And people are going to go, what happened? And God and Kim Clement says there, my people are going to be given a rest. That it's going to come to an end. And some people are going to say, oh, good, we can celebrate Halloween. And Kim goes, no, don't celebrate Halloween. And then it's the next day that the Holy Spirit is poured out. And I think that what's going to happen is the Brunson decision is going to happen. I think all hell is going to break loose. I think that we're going to see war in the streets, as many people have. And I think it's going to be quelched at the end of the month. That's just the timing that I think. And I don't know what they'll say about the election, because if the national elections are not certifiable, then why are the state elections going to be certifiable? And so I think that's what I believe is going to happen. And I think we're going to have a fantastic Thanksgiving. And so it's my expectation that between November 1st, when the Holy Spirit is poured out, Kim Clement talks about there's 4 years of open heaven. He's very specific about 4 years of open heaven. Only recently I've realized there's going to be 4 years of prosperity. And I don't think I wanted to think this way, but I now believe the two are lined up together. I'm not saying November 1st, I'm saying the month of November. I think the wealth transfer will have begun. And, you know, further descriptions of what it's going to look like. It's going to look like a banking crisis that is going to look like it's going to be a recession, and it's going to look like a depression, but then it's not going to be as bad. And I wonder if that is the dinar is going to be used to reduce the impact for our country. But I still totally believe, also according to what Kim Clement said, is we are going to have deep economic troubles. I think it's going to look like it's going to take us out, but it's actually going to get pretty good by Thanksgiving. But then I think it's going to begin to slip. And Kim talks about it's going to be a pretty tough economic Christmas. And I think next spring is going to be really, really difficult. But God is going to be there. And the wealth transfer will be in motion. So those who have the blessings of the wealth transfer are going to have a responsibility of wealth. And we're going to continue to talk about what that responsibility would look like as we become kingdom millionaires, and some of us even kingdom billionaires. And I've really been wrestling with that. And it's so easy to want to be a millionaire or a billionaire. But the word kingdom is a much more important part of that. And that's going to be the name of the book that Lauren and I are writing together, is The Rise of Kingdom Billionaires. And it's so easy to be attracted to being a billionaire, to be a multimillionaire. But we need to be attracted to the word kingdom, and we need to understand what that is. And I'm even going to say this. We don't see a lot of examples of kingdom billionaires because kingdom is about other people. It's what's good for them. It's not what's good for you. We've seen the evilness of billionaires over the last 30 or 40 years and how greedy they are and how self-serving. And yes, they do provide interesting products, but they generally serve only themselves. It's really interesting that I don't know that either one of them have an outspoken relationship with God. In fact, I think Elon Musk is not a believer. He may be a God-fearer. I don't know where he stands. But he does seem to be other-oriented. He's one of the first billionaires. I mean, Trump is obviously a billionaire. He's not doing it for money. Trump is not running for money. And Elon does not appear to be doing what he's doing for money. And that's what I think, kingdom is. It's very interesting. Those two are the only billionaires that I'm aware of, other than the guy who owns Hobby Lobby. I forgot his name. Those guys are very others oriented, but so many are so greedy. And we have to make sure that we honor God as we're taken to these future levels, because Kim, time and time again, talks about 1,000x, 2,000x, even 5,000x returns are going. Some people that only have 5,000 invested are going to become billionaires. He talks about that. So that's what I thought. That's what I've been thinking about. I'm encouraged. I'm busy. I'm writing. I'm thinking. I hope that you're busy, that you're productive. These next 2 weeks are going to be crazy, but know that God's got it and that He's got good things for us. I can't wait till the Spirit of God is poured out. I can't wait to see what the wealth transfer looks like. I hope that you make good decisions. I'm planning on it. We will be in touch, and I'm going to check back. Have a good one.